No, it's like an application. It's like an application of something that you learned in your classroom.
Oh, okay.
It's very hands-on. It's very functional. It very much gives teachers the tools they need to support their learners. It's on our Wisconsin Facebook page. You can look at it. You can click on top 10 tools. You can read about it, see if that's something you're interested in.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's really good. I think you won't regret it. Grab a partner at school.
Yeah, that's my hope, right? You have a partner to kind of work alongside with,
Okay.
even if it's a different grade level.
Okay, SOR, what is it? SOR Wisconsin? No, it's SOR. What I should have learned in college?
Science of Reading and Literacy Task Force. Yeah, it was Wisconsin.
You know what? I can't find it. I can't remember now what it's called. All right. All right. Is Randall here? Did I see?
I am here.
Is that open to everyone in Wisconsin? Yes. All you got to do is go to Wisconsin Science of Reading Facebook page, and it's right there.
Yes. So please do that. We'd love to have more people sign up for it. We've got to get Wisconsin moving and shaking. We've got to get Wisconsin to know what the science is all about. And this is a great way to do it, and you won't be alone. Okay, tonight, Jeannie is hosting, so take it away.
Have at it, right?
Have at it.
Have at it, right? So I'm Jeannie Shop. As Donna alluded, I'm one of the administrators of the Wisconsin Science of Reading Facebook page, Literacy Task Force. I also help with her with the Science of Reading Facebook page as well. I'm currently a reading specialist, dyslexia interventionist in Sturgeon-Bay School District. So I get the pleasure to introduce our host tonight, our teacher tonight, Randall Klein. He's an early reading specialist and author from Bozeman, Montana. And he has taught in a multi-aged early childhood classrooms for 16 years and is the author of the Klein Method of Early Reading Mastery. Randall has successfully taught hundreds of children from ages 3 to 7 years how to read, how to use his experience to formulate the techniques and methods he now delivers to educators and parents in his presentations and workshops on developmentally appropriate early reading instruction. It is Randall's desire to create a heightened awareness for the need of systematic, explicit, developmentally appropriate reading instruction for beginning and struggling readers ages 3 through 7. So tonight in this presentation, he will demonstrate phonemic awareness games and activities that give beginning and struggling readers concrete understanding of the alphabetic principle and launch them into a strong alphabetic knowledge, confident decoding, and proficient word identification. So welcome, Randall. It's a pleasure to have you on this call today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I love talking about reading, and I hope that I can share some games and activities, some insights and perspectives that will help you working with some of your young readers. I'm going to move fairly quickly.
Did she give you hosting rights there?
I made him a
co-host. In order to do what? Yeah, I think I've got everything I need.
To share your screen.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, okay. You're set.
For those of you who are early childhood educators, perhaps it would help you to have a certificate of attendance for some professional development for your local agencies, licensing agencies. So you can put my email in the chat box. You're welcome to email me a request if you like. The things I'm going to cover today are found in my book. Some of you might be interested in finding it on Amazon, but one of the handouts, a couple of the handouts that Donna has sent you are from my book, a chapter on how a child teaches himself the alphabet, how a child teaches himself to decode. And so I'm going to share with you some games and activities that I have been using for many, many years working with young children. And so I'm just going to jump right into it and share what I know. And hopefully you'll have questions and comments at some point along the way. And Donna assured me that I can stay online a little bit longer after the session if you have questions or if you want to talk to me more. All right. So the thing that I like to convey to parents and early childhood educators is the importance of phonemic awareness, and that reading for all children begins with phonemic awareness. For some people, this is still new. For a lot of people, they've been knowing about phonemic awareness for a long time.
Randall, your screen is not shared.
Oh, I apologize. There we go.
There you go.
Didn't push the right button. Okay, here we go. So to me, the main thing that we've learned about phonemic awareness and things that we've learned about when studying the science of reading is that our instruction really needs to move from speech to print. It has to move from sound to symbol. It has to go from the concrete to the abstract. Now that's an interesting concept, but if you think about it, sound is vibration, vibration is concrete. And another way to look at this is that when we are working with young children and giving them math concepts, we don't just start writing things on the chalkboard, numbers. We give them things to hold and touch and to count. We give them concrete objects, and then we add the abstract to that. So the same thing applies with early reading with young children, is we give them the concrete, which is the sound, and then we add the abstract symbols to that. And it helps them to understand the alphabet in a deeper way than just remembering the alphabet or memorizing the alphabet. I'm going to start out really briefly talking about rhyming. I don't believe that rhyming really directly relates to learning how to read. Often I'll have a second grade teacher raise their hand and say, well, I have a second grader that still can't rhyme. And my answer is always, you have bigger fish to fry. But rhyming is important, especially for an early childhood classroom, including kindergarten and first grade for that matter. So I'm going to talk very briefly about this before I move on. Teaching children specific rhymes is the best way to teach them to rhyme. So one of the things I always did in early childhood classrooms is just teach children specific rhymes. It takes me 20 seconds. In the morning, I do it almost every single day, and pretty soon rhyming starts to happen. So I'll just flash cards as children are gathering around the circle or getting ready to begin their morning. And I'll just call out mouse, house, and I'll have the children repeat. Cat, hat. And I just simply go through a set of maybe 10 or 12 pictures, pear, bear, plow, cow, and I have them call it out to me. But what happens is, on the second or third day, when I hold up the picture of mouse, I have quite a few children calling out house. And when I hold up the picture of cat, I'll have a bunch of children call out hat. So the bottom line is, if I teach them specific rhymes, they will learn those specific rhymes very quickly. And then I have an activity that they can choose from the lesson shelf or from the workstation. And I show them how we handle the material, how we care for it, how we match the pictures. They can work individually, they can work as groups, and they have something to do with their hand. So rhyming is important for that reason, not so much that they have to have it in order to read, but it gives them something concrete. It also starts to stimulate that part of their brain that deals with sounds and spoken language. The other thing I really like to emphasize about rhyming is to me, it's an early warning system. If I have some kindergarten kids who still aren't rhyming after a while, it's telling me something. It's like a red flag waving above the child's head saying, I need more, pay attention to me. Part of my brain that deals with sounds and phonological processing, maybe it needs more help. Even for first grade kids, and certainly for kindergarten kids, giving them rhyming activities like this, give them something to do right away at the beginning of the year. It starts to really get them into the swing of things and what I want to do in my early childhood classroom. The gold stars on the activities that you see, oops, you're still not seeing it. Oh, there you go. Indicates that you can download this game as a digital file from my website, and I'll share that with you before I'm done. And I think it's one of the things you got in your handouts as well. But one of the things that I want to really focus on are the two essential skills that a child absolutely needs in order to learn to read, and that is beginning sound isolation and phoneme segmentation. I know there are other phonemic awareness skills. These to me are the most important and the ones that I focus on entirely, basically. And I'm going to talk about beginning sound isolation first. I want a child and all the children in my classroom to look at house and say, ah, to look at the picture of zebra and say, zzz, to hold the banana or the ball or the bell and say, buh. And I'm going to show you how I do that and maybe pick up some new ideas and new activities that you can use. Why do I think beginning sound isolation is so hugely important? It's because I really want the children to learn their alphabet sounds. I want them to really understand it and not just memorize it or remember it. I want to teach them the alphabetic principle, that sounds of spoken language are represented by abstract symbols that we call letters. If a child can look at the picture of bear and say, buh, then I can point to that symbol, that black abstract squiggly thing, and say, oh, that says buh. Mr. Bear is telling you that says buh. So the key principle for me is that I want to teach the alphabetic principle before I teach the alphabet. If I'm talking to parents or bus drivers or the faculty at a school, I say, look, when you're out on a walk, when you're driving the bus, when you're driving your children home, ask them to look out the window or along the path. What do they see? Well, Veronica sees a dog. So the bus driver is going to call out, oh, dog. Mom, if Jonathan sees a bus, Dad is going to say, oh, bus. So the concept is that we want to model the isolation of beginning sounds of words. And the thing that I use most often is a little beginning sound bingo game, where I work with a small group of children. Everyone has a card. Everyone has game pieces. And I simply call out who has monkey, who has balloon. Here we go. Okay. So who has ball? And I can see who has what on their card because they're in the circle around me. And when Jonathan puts his game piece on ball, I'm going to ask him to repeat ball. I see that Veronica has a picture of church. So I'll say, who has church? And after a while, the children understand that I'm going to expect that when they put the game piece on their image, they're going to say church. Who has beaver? Here's an example of something where a child who is language is a second, English is a second language, they maybe don't know what the beaver is. Fine, you just tell them, there's the beaver, or maybe the friend, one of the little friends will tell them, Sandy, that's a beaver there. So when Sandy puts the game piece on beaver, she's going to say beaver. So that's the beginning sound bingo. Again, the gold star at the top means that it's something you can download as a free game. I do sell materials, but I'm not interested in selling materials. I'm interested in selling ideas and game activity ideas. So you can do these with your young children. And these things really are appropriate also for first and kindergarten kids in first grade, because some of them really need this. Now, when a child can isolate beginning sounds, they can touch the table and say t. They can hold the ball and say buh. I'm going to show the individual child or a group of children how to use these cards independently, where they can choose a card, they can take some game pieces, and then I teach them how to start in the box. We put the game piece in the box, Sun, and Mr. Sun is telling us what to do. We have to find other pictures that start with the same sound. Seal, soap. I'm going to take a turn. Jonathan's going to take a turn. I'm going to take a turn. Jonathan will take another turn. I'm going to go back and forth until I understand that the child can do this game. If he has beginning sound isolation, I know he's got the skill to do it, but now I have to make sure he understands how we play the game. I love hands-on material. I'm an early childhood educator. I really like individualized instruction. I like choice when possible. I love repetition. It's the healing balm of education. I love hands-on learning because I really feel like it leads to success and independence. What the hand does, the mind remembers. Now, the reason I want children to play these games is because I want them to become really, really, really good at beginning sound isolation, because that's going to be the vehicle that I use and that they use to learn the alphabet. So I also have other activities that they can choose in order to practice that beginning sound isolation. I want children to gain conscious access to phonemes. I want them to be able to apply the alphabetic principle in order to understand and learn those black squiggly abstract things we call letters. So I want to teach the alphabetic principle before I teach the alphabet, or as I'm teaching the alphabet. Now, to me, the beginning sound isolation opens the door to the alphabet for the individual child. Now, you might have a lot of other things you're doing with the alphabet. You might be following a curriculum or a particular book that you're asked to do by your school director or your principal. These things that I'm showing you can certainly be supplemental, and I think they can be of great help to you because I want children to understand the alphabet. So Veronica, who can isolate beginning sounds and who has been practicing beginning sound isolation, I can introduce the alphabet in a more individualized way so I can really see that she understands where we're going with this alphabet stuff. So Veronica, that's a picture of a goat. What's the beginning sound of goat? And she says, G. Say, okay, that's right. Mr. Goat says G, goat. He's telling us that that letter says G. Let's look at the picture of house. What's the beginning sound of house? Right. So the house is telling us that this letter says, now, I want you to think about the picture of sun and what the beginning sound is, and I want you to tell me what that letter says. That's right. S. What does the letter say that's next to Mr. Moon? Correct. So you see where I'm going with this. This seems very, very simple, but I'm telling you, there are kindergarten kids and first grade kids that sort of know the alphabet. They know they're supposed to know the alphabet. They know some sounds, but they don't truly understand it. And so this helps them to really just get it at a different level, at a deeper level. When a child has beginning sound isolation and understands the alphabetic principle, basically, they can figure out any letter of the alphabet if there is a letter associated with it someplace in the environment. Now, I want the child to start really applying the alphabetic principle by using that beginning sound isolation with a game or activity. And I'm going to show you about this game right now. And remember, the gold star means it's something you can download. So let me just shoot away for a second while I pull up one of my games. Here we go. All right, Veronica. What's the beginning sound of girl? Right, G, G. Let's see if I can find the G. Oh, there it is. It's up next to Mr. Goat. G, girl, G, goat. I'll take another turn. This is an easy one. Moon, Well, there's the moon right there, so I don't even have to think about it too much. Okay, it's your turn now. What's the beginning sound of seal? S. Let's see if we can find where that goes. So I'm going to take a turn. I'm going to take many turns. I'm going to go back and forth with Veronica so I can make sure that she understands the activity and the game. But you see what's happening here. She's taking the sound from horse and she's applying that sound and figuring out where it goes. So she is recognizing that letter now, sort of a multiple choice kind of way. I teach teachers in Africa every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. because it's about 3 or 4 p.m. over there. This is one of the schools in South Africa that I visited in 2018 that's applying these methods and these games. It's really a delight to work with those teachers. When the child's good at this, I can turn over the picture so they don't see the picture anymore. They're just recognizing letters. Again, I'm going to show you real quickly. Forgot to do my transition thing. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. The girl is asking us to find the G. There it is. So these letters sort of become like old friends after a while. It's not letter reading, it's letter recognition. It's multiple choice. And so that's why I like the games I'm going to present to you, because the alphabet work is more of a multiple choice rather than let's read this letter, let's read that letter. There's another game that you can download. The girl is saying, where's the G? The seal is saying, where's the S? The hat is saying, where's the H? So by providing alphabet activities in a multiple choice kind of way that associates also with the beginning sound, it strengthens the phonemic awareness and it strengthens the letter recognition. Now, when I do my alphabet, I tend to teach it in clusters or in small groups. And you probably have your own way of teaching the alphabet, but I like to go systematically through the alphabet, and I organize my work so that all of the games, the first level of games, all are going to deal with these 5 letters, and then we'll move on to other letters. I personally believe that reading instruction primarily is supervised practice. At this level, I'm not teaching a child anything. I'm giving the child an activity that he can apply the alphabetic principle to. So I'm teaching him how to play a game, but I'm not necessarily teaching him phonics. He's learning the phonics from the activity itself. And we have to understand that it takes children hundreds of exposures for a letter to become fully automatic in memory. I want children to really engage with these alphabet sounds. Usually a parent will look at this and ask the child to read the letter, but some of these children don't know what that letter is yet, but the pictures will give them a clue. So pig, pig, is that a P? No. Candle, candle, is that a K? Yes, it is. So again, it can be used as a multiple choice kind of, or for the child who is reading letters and just needs more practice, he can certainly read the letter. So as I said, I sort of organize my work by clusters, and all of the games that the child has access to in the beginning all deal with just those 5 letters. So he gets a good momentum. But I'm not really asking him to read those letters. I'm asking him to recognize them in a multiple choice kind of thing, so that when they move on to the next cluster, they see the same games and maybe some different ones. But they already know how to apply the alphabetic principle, and they're going to learn 5 new letters. They're going to apply their alphabetic principle. And as they go through the series, they get better and faster. And for children who are in first grade, who are struggling readers, and I think any of you who work with struggling first and second grade readers, you know that what I always discover anyway, they don't really know their alphabet that well. We're asking them to read words, we're asking them to read little books, even decodable books, but they actually don't know their alphabet that well. So by having them go through some alphabet activities that are not too hard, not too easy, they can go through them quickly, it really sort of shores up the foundation, sort of picks up drop stitches so that they can really have a better job at decoding. Let's talk about phoneme segmentation. If I could tell you nothing today except this, that phoneme segmentation is the most important reading readiness skill of everything in the whole universe. And if you focus more on phonemic awareness, everything that you're already doing well, all the activities and strategies you're using that are already good and working, they're going to be multiplied, because phonemic segmentation. Phoneme segmentation is so important for these young kids. So I want children to be able to look at boot and say boot. Look at church and say ch, ch. G, u, s. Now, how do I do that? I play a game called the blending game. And I teach segmentation by having them learn how to blend sounds. So we teach segmentation by modeling it for the child in a fun, interactive game called the blending game. I use a set of game cards containing pictures of objects and animals that will be familiar to a 3 or 4-year-old child, but certainly to a 5 and 6 and 7-year-old child. There are no letters on these cards. Each card, however, represents a spoken word that contains only 3 phonemes. So I'm going to show you how I play this game. So I have this little deck of cards that I keep with me, and I'm hiding it so they can't see what I've got. And I can work with 1 child or 2 children or 12 children, and I can play the game differently for each child. I can individualize my instruction for each child, and let me show you how I do that. Okay, Thomas, I'm hiding a picture. See if you can guess what I've got. Up. Right, cup, and I hand him the card. Let's try another one. B, u, t. Right. Boot, and I hand them the card. Now I go to the next child. Ch, ch. Correct, church, and I hand the card to the child. Now the way that I can differentiate and individualize for each children is this. For a very, very young child or a beginner who's just walked into the classroom, I'm going to keep those sounds really close together. Goose. Right, goose. For a child who's further along or who's been playing the game with me for a while, I can start to separate the sounds further. B, a, x. And for some children, I can separate them far apart. G, o, t. Right, goat. Now, I separate the sounds as far as I need to, or I keep them as close as I need to, depending on the individual child, so that everyone's going to be successful all the time, but I'm going to differentiate. So I'm giving a challenge to children who need a more challenging activity, but everyone that's in the group with me is going to learn and really grow from this. So they're learning how to blend, basically. This is a blending game. And of course, we need to be able to blend in order to read words. So when they further down the line, when they start to decode and they read 3 letters, they have to be able to come up with the right answer. So that's a blending activity. They need to be able to be really good at blending. But the thing about this blending game is that the entire time that they're practicing their blending and they're getting better and better and better and better and better at it, I am not blending. I am not modeling blending. I and modeling phoneme segmentation. It's like I'm talking to their brain. I'm saying, hey, brain, listen up. I'm going to take a word apart. I'm going to take a word apart. I'm going to take a word apart. But the outer child, the conscious child, is just simply listening to those 3 sounds and then blending them together. So I have a blending game bingo that I use also. Same activity, same idea, same group of children. Everyone's got game pieces. Sometimes I have a child close his eyes. I say, okay, Thomas, I see something on your card. Close your eyes. See if you can guess what I'm thinking of. Fish. And he says fish. Then he can put his game piece on fish. So it's just another way for me to model phoneme segmentation by playing the blending game. Now, just as when I talked about beginning sound isolation as being the open door to the alphabet, the child can look at goat and say g, then they can figure out that that letter says g. In a similar fashion, phoneme segmentation is the open door to words and to the decoding of words. If a child can look at bus and say s, then he can start to figure out those 3 letters and how to decode them. That doesn't mean he is a decoder. That doesn't mean he can read. I'm just saying he's going to understand the decoding process in a deeper way. He's going to understand how print matches speech at the word level. So this is the alphabetic principle at the word level, and we're getting children ready to decode these kinds of 3-letter short vowel words, which is almost always the very beginning entree into the decoding process. So let me show you what I mean. And before I do that, I want to show you one thing. When I have children that can segment, I have lots of things they can do, but one of the things I want to do is to be sure that they're segmenting and doing a really good job of it. So I might say to Veronica, okay, Veronica, now I want you to hide the picture from me, and you give me 3 sounds, and I have to guess what you've got. So I'm going to give them a chance to give me 3 sounds, aus, so that I can blend those sounds together. But I'm really giving Veronica and Thomas and Susan and Sandy a chance to really practice their phoneme segmentation. And of course, I can have children work with each other as pairs where they each have some cards and they get to hide the picture from the other player and give them 3 sounds. I want a lot of phoneme segmentation going on in my early childhood classrooms, in my kindergarten classroom, and whenever I'm tutoring or working with first graders. Now, this is an activity that I want to really emphasize, and that is encoding words, building words. So, Veronica, what are the sounds? Let's take everything out of this little pocket. These are called word pockets. Let's take everything out. What do we have? Oh, we have a picture of a pig, and we have some letters. Okay, Veronica, what are the sounds of pig? And she says, p, I, g. Now, I asked Veronica that because I know she can answer me. She can tell me, she can segment those three sounds. Okay, now, Veronica, you're going to give me those 3 sounds, and I'm going to move the letters. Ready, go. And she says, p, I, g. Okay, that's how we build words. Now, I want you to have a turn. I want you to build the word pig. Okay, ready, go. And I'm going to observe to see whether she understands what we're doing. And she says, p, I, g. And she moves the letters in position. This is pretty basic stuff. Maybe you are guys already doing this in different ways, but I personally feel that encoding spoken language, building words, is the most powerful way to prepare a child for decoding words. And if I'm working with a 1st or 2nd grader who is really struggling and needs to pick up some drop stitches, this is my best tool to help him get his head wrapped around in his subconscious mind in the game in terms of what is this thing? What is our language? How does our spoken language and our printed language, how do they map? So I encourage all of you, if you're working with early childhood children or kindergarten, 1st grade kids, to make sure you have some word building activities that they can choose to do. If I give a child a word, when I go to schools to work with teachers, I always insist, I don't insist, everyone's happy to do it, but I always work with children. I work with 3 children at a time. The teachers are sitting around watching while I'm playing games. And I just pull out stuff, and I always give children word pockets to see what I see. I want to see what happens when I give them a word pocket. And sometimes they pull out the letters and they're not quite sure what to do. Other children pull them out and they lickety-split put those words together. When a child can encode words like this, it shows me that they understand what's going on. They're not confused. And we have very young 4.5-year-old children, certainly 5 and 6-year-old children, who have the phoneme segmentation skill to be able to do this activity. Now, let me just bring one more thing to your attention. When children do word pockets or any kind of a word building activity, first of all, they're not using a pencil. So that takes that out of the equation, which slows everything down, right? But the letter recognition here is multiple choice. I'm not really asking a child. This activity is not asking the child to read the letter. This activity is asking the child, where is the p? Where is the I? Where is the g? So it's extremely reinforcing of the letter sounds. And of course, it's very reinforcing of phoneme segmentation, which to me is the most important thing at the beginning. Okay. When I tutor older children, spelling to me is what I do. Spelling is reading instruction at the word level. And for even young children, just simply building these simple 3-letter, 4-letter words is reading instruction at the word level. So that phoneme segmentation is going to be the best tool for this child to really either learn how to decode or strengthen the decoding. Certainly, it's going to strengthen the letter recognition. The picture of fan is basically asking the child, where is a, n? And let me show you real quick how I do that with a child. So many. Actually, I don't know if I have this one up. Did I pull this one up? No. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, I didn't do that one. Never mind. My apologies. Okay. When I'm working with a child, I'm encouraging them to start with the picture, segment the picture, and that will tell them how to find the word. So they're mapping sounds to symbols. Of course, a child who can decode is going to want to pick up the label and try to decode it. That's fine. But the pictures really help him. And I think that's really one of the things I want to emphasize. For a 3rd or 4th grader, these kind of activities are going to seem like baby stuff because of these little silly, goofy pictures. But really, for a preschool kid, a kindergarten kid, a 1st and even a 2nd grader, those pictures are so helpful to them to be able to figure stuff out. This is an interesting activity, which I love. A lot of teachers, it takes them a while to to really like this activity because it looks visually silly. And where's the word? But children love to do it. And what I love about it is that it's another opportunity for children to segment. They have to be able to segment at. And then, of course, the letter recognition. It really strengthens the letter recognition without really asking them to actually read the letters. There's just so much work that gets done for an individual child when he's able to really apply the alphabetic principle and start to really work with the words so that he can be prepared to read words where there are no picture clues. There's nothing to help him. But, he's really got to know those letter sounds. He's got to know them pretty well to be successful to read even these simple 3-letter words. So that's what I feel so strongly about, is just making sure that I'm helping to prepare children to be really successful by making sure that their alphabet knowledge is very, very strong. And so I have 3-letter word activities, lots of different ones for those children who can segment. Even if they don't know their alphabet that well yet, the picture allows them to figure stuff out without having to actually read the letter. Let me bring up one more thing. Let's see. Oh, for those of you who work with children who are a little bit older, let me show you how else I might use phoneme segmentation. Okay, let me take a turn first. I'm going to take my game piece. Here we go. K, a, t, k, a. There it is. There's the A right there. So, elementary teachers are sort of obsessed with middle sounds. Well, how do you teach them the middle sound? How do you teach them the end sound? Well, they don't need to know the middle sound. They don't need to know the end sound until they need it. They don't need it until they need it. So the phoneme segmentation gives them the answer. It always gives them the answer. P, ah, t. Now it's your turn, Thomas. Again, it involves segmentation. Now, again, you're going to have some kids that just simply know where to put it, and that's okay too, because it also reinforces that letter sound. And those 5 short vowels of all the letters in the universe, which 5 letters sound most alike? It's those 5 darn short vowels. So this really reinforces the correct sound for those 5 vowels. And of course, the last sound. So to me, it's not so much, oh my gosh, these kids have got to know the last sound of a word. Nah, they don't. But I want them segmenting, and I want them having opportunities to really get better and better and better with their letter recognition of the letter sounds. Okay. So this school in South Africa where we went, I spent a week there with my sister, and we just made materials and worked with kids and just had a great time. And they've organized their shelves the way, according to my method. I'm not trying to push my method. I'm trying to push principles of instruction and some interesting games and activities that everyone can use, no matter what kind of program they're implementing in their school. So this little box, that little circle, that red circle shows where all of the 3-letter word work is. So if a child can segment phonemically, it has the skill of phoneme segmentation, they can pretty much do any of those 3-letter word activities. And now I'm also going to make sure I prepare them to work with 4 sounds. Guess what I have? S, w, I, m. Right. Swim. T, e, n, t. Okay, right. Tent. Now I'm going to make it really hard, Jonathan. Listen carefully. L, a, m, p. Right. Lamp. Okay, Veronica, it's your turn. I'm going to hide my eyes and you tell me 4 sounds and I have to guess what it is. So Veronica says b, e, l, t. And I went too quick. And then I had open my eyes after I say belt. And of course, children can work with each other and they can practice. So I'm going to continue my phoneme segmentation into 4 sounds for sure, because I want to make sure that they can start working with longer words. O, a, g. I love these cards. I love these cards. For one thing, I can say to a child, wish I had a set right with my desk at my desk right now. I say, okay, Thomas, I want you to hide a card from me and I want you to read the word to me and I have to guess what it is. Well, when he has the picture of flag in front of him, but I can't see it, the picture of flag is basically telling him how to decode that. But he, without the picture, maybe couldn't decode that very well. So he's actually practicing his decoding without being wrong, if that makes sense to you. And then I have to guess what the picture it is. So I just love these cards because children can play in groups with each other. They can read a word and the other child has to guess what it is. So the games I've got then mirror the ones I showed you earlier. Now they deal with 4 letters rather than 3 letters. It's the same activities. They're already familiar with these games, but it gives them this practice that they need this repetition that perhaps they haven't gotten because everyone in the class is moving too quickly, or they've missed some days of school, or whatever it might be. So I'm just going to sort of go through different activities that I've got, give you ideas of things you can do in your class. Now, I'm not sure that a child of 5-year-old can actually segment 5 sounds, but he's far enough along with the alphabetic principle that he can figure this out anyway. He can really figure this out and start to really work with longer words. This is my email. I just put it in the chat box again for those of you who'd like to communicate with me or ask for a certificate of attendance, or I'm very happy to Zoom into your school to give presentations. Hopefully, Jeannie and Donna will invite me back to do more of this. I'm sort of quickly going through some things, but hopefully you're getting some good ideas. Okay. To me, phoneme segmentation unlocks everything for a child to be able to figure stuff out. I'm not going to ask him to read the word slide. I'm going to ask him to build the word slide. So the segmentation of the word slide tells him how to build that word. And in the process, it reinforces not only phoneme segmentation, but those letter sounds, and of course, the concept of the silent E. A lot of times a child will, if I just give him one of these word pockets, he'll just put out 4 letters, SLID, and that little E is sitting off to the side, and he'll think, well, why is that there? Well, that's a perfect teaching moment. Then you can teach that says slid, now let's make it say slide, and you can just sort of adapt to give him what he needs. Okay, Thomas, I want you to hide the card from me, and you have to read the word to me, and I have to guess what it is. Well, you might think, well, you didn't teach him the SH yet. You didn't teach him the AI yet. He's only 5. But Jonathan is a really good decoder. He can decode 3 and 4 letter words really well. He can segment really well. He can look at the picture of fish and figure out how to read that word. And in fact, he can practice reading these cards and then bring them to me 10 minutes later and just read the word to me. He can start to teach himself the phonics that we are teaching them in the classroom in various other ways. Okay, well, those are some of the things I wanted to share with you. I think there's one other thing I want to put into the chat box. Oh, I know, I'm going to upload a file. That's what I'm going to do. In the meantime, hopefully some of you have some questions. So if you have a question, I'm not sure how you want to handle this, Jeannie, you can just wave your hand and unmute yourself. I believe they're allowed to unmute themselves.
Yeah, I would say people can unmute themselves. I don't know if we have a raised hand. You can raise your hand also under reactions, and then we can see you.
There's a question in the chat there. Do you use a little Staines E around the corner A says its name?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's whatever way that you teach the silent E, the word pocket allows you to do it for the child who needs to have it brought to his conscious understanding. I'm not even saying that that's the only way that I would teach silent E, or that, okay, now he knows the silent E, but it's a way for him to engage with the silent E through an activity he's already familiar with using the segmentation and letter recognition. And so I can just step in and it's a perfect teaching moment. And whatever you want to do. Yeah.
I was just going to say this reminded me of Montessori. I worked at a Montessori school and they did a lot of this building words, on their little mats on the ground. And it was all speech to print.
Exactly. Speech to print. That's what we want, speech to print.
We have a question here, wondering if you have any more pictures of how it is stored.
Well,
Is that for organization, you mean?
I think that's the question is that right, Michelle?
let's see. Well, I have a little traveling kit.
Yep, that was Michelle's question.
I have a little traveling kit that I use when I go to schools, and I have this kit. I have like 10 of these little tubs filled with games that I take with me. But also, the concept is at some point I'm going to be opening an early reading mastery center here in Bozeman, so I can really give opportunity to children who need help and help the local public school teachers give these children more repetition, more opportunity that they can maybe get in their own classroom. So it would be a free tutoring center, so to speak, where children can come. So this is one way I do it. Actually, there's one other thing I want to show you. I'm going to step away from my desk for just a second.
We have another question there, Randall, when you're ready.
One of the things I do here in Bozeman for my church community and for just anybody who finds out about me is I coach parents. I do Zoom stuff, but I don't tutor anymore. Just I have too many things I have to do. So what I do is I coach a parent. I work with the child, maybe even in person, so I can figure out what does the child need. And then I have these little boxes that I found, these little plastic boxes. And so I package my material and I put a little sticker on the front so the teacher, so the parent knows what the game is. And I loan these to parents. I give them to the parents and they take them home. The child has something to practice with. And then they return them to me so I can give them other stuff to do. So these are nice little plastic boxes that I found. They're very inexpensive and allowed me to sort of package stuff in a quick, easy way so parents don't have to fumble with cards and figuring out what goes together. So that's one way that I organize them. And also the thing about this too is that the child on the shelf, if it's a classroom, they recognize the activities that they know how to do, that they've practiced with, and so they can go right to them and it's not confusing to them. I'm not sure if that really answers your question, but
I think so. There's one more question here, Randall. I'd like how you teach letters in clusters. Is there a reason that you start with the letters A, G, H, M, S? There are many different perspectives on the best order to introduce letter sounds, and I loved your insights.
Okay, let me I just answered that question in an email to a teacher from another state. Give me a second. I have to find, I'm sort of lost. I have too many screens. I got 3 screens going here. I got to find where I'm supposed to be. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I see you guys. No, the short answer is no. I keep letters in separate clusters that look alike, like the M and the N should be in separate clusters. The 5 short vowels, to the extent that you can, you separate them because they sound so much alike. But to me, the cluster thing is just first and foremost, besides separating them, those that look and sound alike, it's a strategy that forces the teacher to be accountable, to move children to the alphabet, because you lose track of who knows what. So I organize my games in clusters so that the child who is in cluster 1, that's where he is, and he can move to cluster 2. Another child's already in cluster 4 or 5. It just allows me to be more accountable. for what happens in the classroom.
Ironically, I think that's how Montessori does it too. They have boxes just like you do, but they're wooden. And they have certain letters and certain cards that go together. And I think they build those skills up like that.
Well, I'll tell you a secret, Donna, since you keep bringing up this Montessori thing.
Yeah. And Donna, do you know your camera's off, right?
That's okay.
Okay, because we like seeing you, you know.
I like to joke that I tell people where I got my PhD from. A PhD in early reading mastery. Well, you have a PhD? Yeah, I have a PhD from the University of Preschool. And they say, well, where's that? I said, well, wherever there's a 4 or 5-year-old kid that wants to play games, that's the preschool. Give me a game, let's play. Because we know that the children teach us what we need to learn. So Donna, my early career was in Montessori. I am a Montessori and everything I do is Montessori. But Montessorians who listen to me sometimes go, wait a minute, that's not Montessori because it doesn't look like what they do in their classroom. But the principles are here.
For sure.
The principles of hands-on learning, repetition, concentration, independence, all of those things. But these things, but mostly I teach public school teachers. And these are just games and activities that allow the reading coaches or the specialists to just have more activities so the children can practice. So you're right. You're definitely seeing Montessori in everything I do. I don't call it Montessori. To me, it's just speech to print.
It is speech to print. And I think we are going to, on our page, the Science of Reading page, we're going to focus more on speech to print approaches this year because I think people need to understand before you go to print, you need to use speech and you need to sound out what you're going to be reading instead of here's the word, let's sound it out. It's completely opposite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone came on, one of our participants taught for Orton Gillingham. Probably a lot of you have done different Orton Gillingham systems or whatever. And there's a great similarity. I mean, when you go into a classroom or a tutoring center where someone's doing Orton Gillingham or any other offshoots, what do you see on the table? You see movable letter tiles. Mm-hmm. They are building words based on the segmentation of those words. And I did some training with the Linda Mood Bell Institutes in California, which this was maybe 25 years ago, blew me out of the water, what they knew, what they understood way back then. It's all about phonemic awareness, all about phoneme segmentation. Now, having said that, I understand from being recently in the last 2 years, sort of diving more into the science of reading and the websites like the one Donna and Jeannie have, and also the Reading League, which is a fantastic website for the children who are in elementary school who need more. Phoneme segmentation is not enough for a second grader or a third grader or a fourth grader. You've got to start teaching yourself how to play games where you're, as an example, where you're doing harder, more advanced phoneme awareness stuff. For example, actually, Donna, I'll play a game with you.
Great.
I'm gonna say this sounds backwards. You have to guess what picture I have, okay?
Jeez Louise. I am old, you know.
You're
Do
right.
I get any allowance for that? A handicap?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think you actually, anybody can, Jeannie, you can help her if she doesn't get it. Okay. Watch my mouth. Also, always have children watch your mouth. S, oo,
Moose?
There you go. So that's one of the activities that David Kilpatrick has in his book. He has a whole sequence of different things. Those are amazing. If I start tutoring older children again, I have to dive in and really teach myself how to play those games where you have to delete and substitute phonemes. That's hard, but you have to really work at it. Now, what I do with early childhood with 3 to 7-year-olds, it's simple. It's phoneme segmentation and beginning sound isolate. That's all I do. But boy, am I good at it. And boy, can I come up with 25 different new ways to play a blending game with 25 different children, because they're going to hear me segment hundreds of times, thousands of times, and then they're going to be able to do it, and then they're going to practice it. I'm I am going to put into the chat box. What am I going to put in there? My
There was a question here. Anyone else not being allowed access to Klein resources because need permission? So maybe your link isn't working. I mean, because you shouldn't. Oh, because remember to get your resources, you had to meet with you, or can they still get now?
no. Oh, I'm not sure what they were clicking. It shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. I know
Um,
that I ordered your stuff and I'm going to be using it with the kindergarten and 4K students that I'll be working with this next year. And I'm
Oh,
really
that'll be
excited.
perfect, Jeannie.
I know, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So I want to remind you that one of the things that COVID has allowed me to do is to just teach more teachers and go into schools through Zoom. If any of you would like to just email me and say, hey, can you Zoom with our faculty or can you Zoom with me at my school? And there's no charge. I do this for free. I'd rather teach about this stuff and talk about phonemic awareness and letter recognition than almost anything.
Be careful
So-
what you wish for, because
No.
You're going to be busy guy, Randall.
My prayer, literally my prayer is for opportunity to teach, not for money, not for fame. I just want to teach because I love this stuff. And there's so many children who need this. And we've got these teachers that are doing amazing things. And maybe just one game that I have or one idea that I have can really multiply something they're doing. And frankly, it is the phoneme segmentation. So hopefully just that alone, you've come up with some new ideas.
Mhm.
Can
Well, you align perfectly with Kilpatrick and what he says too.
Yeah. Marlene, I think has a question. Go ahead, Marlene.
sorry, I just wanted to know if, so Jean, you said you ordered the thing. So will it come in the little packet like you were showing, or is it just a PDF?
No, it comes in little, they're not laminated. They just come in little packages like this.
Mhm.
But
And so I'll
if you
have to
want to
find the
know
boxes,
about
the
where I
cute
got
little
these
boxes.
plastic boxes,
Yeah,
you can
that's what I
email
want to
me.
know, Randall. Where'd you get
Okay.
those cute little plastic
Yeah,
boxes?
yeah. The orange boxes that you saw on that one, let's see. Can you see that? Those little orange boxes. There's a candy company here in Bozeman. There's this French
Okay,
candy maker that has these beautiful, beautiful, I love boxes. These are really solid little gift boxes. And he had like 400 of them that had been slightly defective. So he didn't want to use them. So I said, I'll take them, just give them to me. And so I can, create games and activities.
What about those plastic boxes? Are you going to tell us where you got those?
I think you'll just have to email me
Okay.
and I
cool.
can, I should have put that on my resource sheet. More questions, yes, Elisa.
I did come late. I apologize. But my question is, with the cards that have the pictures on it, if the kids are reading it, will they just read it by looking at the picture? Like I have cards, if I use a word, I don't have any pictures, but I understand when the kids are little, how it may help. Maybe you can explain that further.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Give me a second. I'm going to pull something up real quick. See if I can find what I've got here. Oh, I know what I'm going to show you. Ooh, I know what I'm going to show you. Can you see the picture of sun?
Mhm.
Okay, so on one side is the picture of sun, and on the back is just the word. So I love these cards because I'll ask a child, first of all, for a young child that I'm teaching, or a small group of children, I'm teaching them how to decode. The segmentation is required, however. That's, to me, the opening of the door. So what are the sounds of sun, Thomas? He says, s, n. Okay, now I want you to give me the sounds of sun, and I'm going to move my finger and read the word sun. Ready? So he's saying s, n, sun. Now, let me do it. Let's do this one. What are the sounds of dog? He says d, g. Okay, move your finger, and I want you to read the word dog. So he goes d, G. Now, is he really reading? Is he decoding? No. It sounds like decoding. It looks like decoding. It smells like decoding. It tastes like, it's everything but decoding. It's perfect. Now, for the 7-year-old who's really not decoding well, why is he not decoding well? Because he doesn't know his alphabet, or he doesn't know it that well. So by giving him, I'm sort of messing up here, sorry. By giving him a picture, he can practice reading that word, or practice reading 5 or 6 cards, and then he can bring it to me and he can then read it to me. Doesn't mean he's perfect, doesn't mean I've solved all of his problems, but that picture allows him to apply the alphabetic principle and figure out and get better at decoding. I'm not sure if that really answers your question though. Is that Elisa?
Elisa, it
Elisa.
actually does. It makes the best sense because it helps them. So they're really, is that encoding?
No, it's,
No.
It-
Segmenting.
I mean, I don't know what they're, actually, that's a good question. I don't know what they're doing. When they're reading that word to me, if they're looking, if there's a picture of dog there and the word next to the dog, are they reading the word? Are they taking the sounds from dog and putting it on there? I don't know, and I don't care. I just know that this kid's brain, his subconscious mind is much more engaged with what decoding is and how speech and print map, so that when he turns the card over, he's better prepared to actually decode. Again, decoding, it's one of those silly things. Decoding is just 2 things. How in the world can the kid read the word hen? Well, he has to be able to say, he has to know those 3 letters pretty well, or he's going to be wrong. Now, the hidden thing that's happening behind the scene, which we know from David Kilpatrick in a much more clearer way than we've ever known, is that phoneme segmentation, that phonemic awareness that to me is like the engine that drives everything. So when he's decoding, he's not really segmenting, he's not really using phonemic awareness, but that phonemic awareness is part of the foundation of what's going on. I'm getting off topic here, but I just, so I didn't really answer your question because I don't know what the answer is.
I like your answer. I learned a lot already. Thank you. This was great. Brilliant. I get it all. I'm putting it together.
What do you teach, Elisa?
Right now I'm just tutoring. So I tutor several kids in several levels and just trying to put it all together. And it's mostly virtual.
And
Yeah.
I want to add that Eliza had, I think I forgot how to say your name, knew nothing last year, right? About science reading.
Yeah. When I'm with your group almost 2 years. It's a good.
Is it 2 years?
Oh, well, you're 2 years. I joined in October.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
October will be 2 years.
So I've had the pleasure of seeing the transformation in this lady, and it's been amazing. She attends every single training we have. She's a good customer.
Well, the kid.
Many kids that I have seen who came to me and they were not reading, and within in 2 months over the summer, or even a week, or months. But I still have one little girl who's really struggling. So I'm trying to get into the phonemic a little deeper, but I'm not sure if there's something might be a little wrong.
How old is she?
She's going into 1st grade.
Oh man, duck soup. Duck soup. First of all, the beginning sound isolation, which is totally underappreciated. Totally underappreciated. You test for it and then you forget about it. Sorry, kids. Beginning sound isolation is huge because that allows the child to figure out letters really quickly and then make them their own, sort of own them in a different way. So look at beginning sound isolation, make sure the alphabet activities you have allow the child to choose which letter is correct. Again, the one of the links that I sent you, you can just download any of my stuff. Of course, it's just digital.
I'm going to do that right after this. I'm going to download.
And then the phoneme segmentation is uber alles. I'm telling you. She's only going into 1st grade. Phoneme segmentation is the open door. So play the blending game. If she can segment, make sure she's segmenting for you. Here's one thing I want to show you. There's a child that maybe is hiding a picture from me. I said, okay, Thomas, hide the picture from me and you have to give me 3 sounds and I have to guess what it is. So this is what Thomas does. He says moose. Now, is that phoneme segmentation? No. I want to hear 3 distinct articulated sounds. So he says moose. Now, what do? This is what I do. I pretend like I'm thinking about it. Let's see. Moose. Moose. Yes. So I'm modeling back to him what I wanted to get from him without correcting him or chastising him or scolding him. So he's in the ballpark, though. He's in the ballpark. That's why I'm letting him do this. Or he might go, oos. That is not phoneme segmentation. So I go, oos. Oh, it's moose. Now, this brings up another topic, which might be a sore point for some people. I do not teach onset rhyme stuff at all. At all. I totally disagree with it, even though scientifically and research-wise, we understand that there's a sequence, there's a sort of a spectrum of phonemic awareness stuff. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry. So I'm going to play a blending game with the kid. I'm going to give him 3 distinct phonemes. I'm not going to go oos, because that's sort of easier. No. I'm only asking him to blend sounds, and I'm making it simple enough so he can do it. He's never going to be wrong. And by the way, I might have a 2.5 or 3-year-old who wants to play, and I'm not going to say to that 2.5 or 3-year-old, no, you're too young, you can't play. I say, come on, play with us. I'm going to show you 2 pictures. Oops. Guess which picture I'm thinking of? Soap. Now, come on, the kid's going to get it, right? Oh, I can make it so every child, no matter how young, Marlene's laughing at me. I'm getting mixed up. I'm looking at myself and trying to get the pictures right. So I guess I'm ranting a little bit and I apologize, but I think the onset rhyme thing is a big mistake, just because scientifically we know it actually theoretically is easier. And I don't have time. Look, teaching to me is about priorities. I don't have time for certain things. What's the big beef that most public school teachers have is that the school director, the principal, the board of directors asks you to do everything and the kitchen sink. So you never can focus on those really key things. And I'm telling you, phoneme segmentation. So thank you for letting me rant a little bit. Marlene's shaking her head. She's with me, I think.
Wonderful.
I certainly hope that you invite me back. Like I said, if you want me to come into your school, just email me. We'll set up a time, an hour. Let's face it. Some of you are using very different methods of what I'm talking about, but I think you've learned something or found something. Oh, I'm going to use that. That's going to help me with what I'm already doing, and that's the way it should be. So I want you to feel like you're your own teacher, you're putting your own imprint on your classroom. And if I've been able to help you and give you some new ideas, then I am grateful.
All right.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Randall. Appreciate your time tonight. And you've given everybody your email address. So if
I'll
they
put
have
it in one
further
more time.
questions, they can reach out to you. And yes, we'd love to have you come back. We'll talk about that, right, Donna? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stay on a little bit longer in case somebody wants to stay on and just ask more questions, but I don't want to take too much time from Donna and Jeannie.
All right. I know it was a working day for me, so I'm working tomorrow too, right?
I think I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.